So, welcome to another very interesting keynote that we have for you, high velocity hiring. We have with us a renowned global speaker and a best selling author. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Wintrip is the founder of Wintrip Consulting Group and the best selling author of High Velocity Hiring that talks about how to hire top talent in an instant. His book was named a must-read by SHRM's HR magazine. Scott is one of the top influential leaders and a global speaker who has helped more than 24,000 organizations build talent-rich companies that no longer have delays. Please join us. Welcome, Scott Wintrip.
My very first meeting with an executive starts out like meetings typically do. She invites me in and we have a seat and we spend some time getting to know one another a little bit better. Then she gets this serious look on her face. I mean, serious. They look like somebody just died and just, looked at me. And it is taking a long time, a long time to fill our jobs. Longer every day. Long. I can't just, it's long. And a big reason why is that our recruiters and our hiring managers, they don't work well together at all. They actually do this dysfunctional kind of a dance. I've even given this dance a name. I call it the hiring shuffle. And it starts when the manager has a job that opens up and now needs candidates to interview to fill it. And when that happens, I'm just not explaining how bad this is, how detrimental it is. I know, Scott. I'm going to show you what it looks like. And she does. She actually gets up from behind her desk, walks around to the front of the desk, and dances just like this. Hurry up, I need people, hurry up, I need people. Now, I wish you could see the faces here. I can't see your faces in the back, but the shocked look that this bald, weird American guy is dancing, oh yeah, you got that look on, you do. Yes, this is what they brought to you. This was what my face looked like too, and the question I always get is, did she really do that? Yeah, she did, and I'd never met her before. And she's not done. She said there's a second move to this dance. And that happens after the recruiters and talent acquisition have worked hard, found good candidates. But now the manager, too busy, too much work, can't see those candidates quickly. And she dances that one too. Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy. I've been a consultant for over 20 years. I've been in hiring over 30 years. And that's a long time, 3 decades. And I've seen a lot of unique things. I've seen some weird things. But this is the first time somebody shows me dance moves to illustrate a problem. She says this dance is going on throughout the organization, and that leaders at all levels of this company are doing this hiring shuffle. And then she keeps dancing. She puts both of those moves together like this. Hurry up, I need people, hurry up, I need people. Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy, hurry up, wait, I need people, I'm too busy, hurry, wait. Okay, I admit she didn't go quite that far. I get to have a little fun with this. But she was quite the dancer. And when she got done with this dancing, she was out of breath, like me. And if you think about it, who wouldn't be out of breath, out of dancing like that? That was very funny in the moment. It is something I will never, ever forget. Neither will you now. And it's actually a serious problem. It is a problem that is not new. It is a problem that is not unique. It is happening as I travel around the world. People relate to this. They nod like a lot of people I saw here this morning. And I know from meeting some of you this morning and in working with companies throughout Asia that you're experiencing this kind of dysfunction in your organizations too. This issue is caused by three problems, three contributing factors. And so this morning, we're going to look at those one at a time. I'm going to give you some advice on how to deal with them. And we're going to solve each and every one of those problems. So you can do Instahiring in your organization by fixing these three things. So let's start with the first issue. And it's an issue I'm sure you can relate to. And that is companies are not drawing in enough qualified candidates. Can you relate? Just nod if you can relate. Yeah, so finding enough candidates these days, I'm often told it can take weeks. True for you? Weeks? Is it sometimes taking months? Yes, and listen to that. Yes, it was almost universal. Months. How about years? Few years too. That's how bad it's gotten. Now, the thing that's often getting the blame for this, the talent shortage. People keep saying that there are lots, in fact, I can't make my arms big enough. There are lots and lots of open jobs in this economy of ours around the world, but not enough qualified people to fill those jobs. And the numbers don't lie. It's true. Jobs and evolution of jobs and technology advancements are outpacing the qualifications of people who can fill them. What's important for us to recognize, though, is this is not unique to this economy. Talent shortages are the new normal. In fact, they persist in good times and in the worst of times. So if we actually look back at that last global recession, there was still a gap between open jobs, there weren't as many open jobs, and qualified people. There still weren't enough. I remember being on the road speaking. It's late 2008. And in the news report, they said that 59% of hiring managers were citing a shortage of qualified workers as their number one hiring challenge. 6 out of 10 leaders experiencing a severe talent shortage when, because of the economy, there was supposed to be a job shortage. And this was happening everywhere. In Japan, they had a shortage of engineers. Australia didn't have enough lawyers. Those are some of the strangest words I have ever heard. I don't know about you. Whoever thought there'd not be enough lawyers? Here in India, also in China, automotive industry couldn't find enough workers either. And where my family's originally from, across all types of jobs, jobs that were common, and specialist jobs like sheep shearers, they couldn't find enough of those individuals as well. I've been involved in hiring for 3 decades, and I've watched organizations of all sizes struggle to fill their jobs in good times and in bad times. So the talent shortage, it's real. You've already illustrated that in the amount of time it takes to fill a job. It is real, and it is a problem. But it's actually not our problem, which I know may sound strange because it's your job to fill jobs, but this is actually not our problem. The real issue is something different. It's how we look at this. It's how we solve this. And I promise you, we're going to get to the real problem, the root of it. It's amazingly simple. That's the good news. And we can fix it. But before we get to that, I want to talk about the other 2 issues that are causing this hiring shuffle. So in addition to the fact that we're just not drawing in enough people, the second issue causing this hiring shuffle is the fact that hiring, it's an interruption. It interrupts work getting done. In fact, let's do this. Think about this problem in this way. In an organization, an empty seat, kind of like an open wound. It is a painful distraction. Now, what's it like for me to deal with that, or you to deal with that, or any leader to deal with that? Well, think about what happens when we get a promotion. We're happy. We get a new title, Maybe an office with a view instead of the cubicle we were in before. Probably a raise. Life is good. Oh, but then a seat opens up in our department. And we suddenly go from having one job, as Sanjo talked about just a little bit ago, to having 3 jobs. 3 jobs, I might add, all at the same time. So first, there's this big job of ours as manager. We get to manage an overflowing desk filled with responsibility. We get to answer lots of phone calls because we're important, and we get lots more emails than we ever got in the past. And the thing that tends to irritate a lot of people, go to lots and lots and lots of meetings. But now, because this seat is opened up, we suddenly have a second job if all this wasn't enough. We have to now manage this workload too. Now, some of this work we can delegate out to other people. A few tasks, those can probably wait until we get this position filled. The things we're really good at, we're just going to do them ourselves, right? Because we probably sat in this seat at one time. But no matter how we choose to handle these responsibilities, we're now responsible for 2 jobs instead of just 1 job. And we're nowhere near done yet, because now we have a 3rd job. We have to conduct hours and hours and hours of interviews to fill this seat while we are still managing this work, while we're still doing this day job of ours. And that's followed by a second round of interviews to make sure we narrow it down to the right people. Oh, and then we've got to run over here to another meeting. And work is piling up here, so we now jump in and we have to do some of that. And we do a lot of that ourselves. And now we have to run off to another meeting. Oh, and of course, there's a 3rd round of interviews because we've all been told the high cost of a bad hire. Yep, and then we've got to run over to another meeting. And this now goes on long enough that my top choice candidate I was talking to as part of this 3rd job, gone. Second choice candidate has also already taken another job, which means, lucky me, I'm now stuck doing these 3 jobs that much longer. I am sure you can relate, probably because you're a manager. How many of you are in a management role? Raise your hand really high. Quite a few people in the room. Or in the very least, you can relate in dealing with managers on a day-to-day basis. Helen could relate as well. She told me after a recent keynote that when she has a seat open up on her team, she's distracted, overwhelmed, stressed out. That is the reason why she does the hiring shuffle. She wants that job filled. She needs that job filled. But to quote her exact words, she doesn't have time in her bloated calendar. How many of you can relate to having a bloated calendar? No time in her bloated calendar to do the filling of that job quickly. So, first issue, we're not drawing in enough talent. Second issue, hiring is an interruption. Interrupts the core work of the business or the department getting done. And if that weren't enough, we've got this 3rd issue. And that is, once suitable candidates are found, the interview process, it is slow. And it takes a long time. And too often, it's inaccurate. If you think about typical traditional interviews, job candidates, they come in, they're looking good, they're on their very best behavior, right? There's a name for this. This is actually called, the thing they do, it is called the tell, the sell, and the swell. And it goes like this. They tell us, and hiring managers, what they think we want to hear. They sell us on their skills and their work history, their brilliance, how darn good they are. Yeah, hire me. Oh, and then they swell our egos with praise, telling us all the things they learned, why they love our company, love our product. Now, does this mean I'm suggesting that everybody we interview is being dishonest. Do you think that I'm suggesting that? I see a lot of heads shaking no. No, I'm not suggesting it. This is normal. It is normal that people disclose only those aspects that land them the job. The problem with this is that this very human behavior that happens all over the world, I don't care where we are, this is human, it's normal, it is global. It interferes with all of us and hiring managers making a good fit. In fact, I was just in Kuala Lumpur, and one of the companies I work with there told me about a recent example where this happened. Candidate comes in, looks great, and he says all the right things, including details he'd learned about the company and its success in the marketplace. He then sold his long tenure and strong skills. And then he praised everybody he met, telling them and stroking their egos about why he just loved the fact that they had been named a best place to work many years over. He was a great interview. He was a fabulous interview who became a terrible, terrible hire. And that happened because he disclosed only the aspects that would land him the job. He left out an important fact. When he works, he likes to be left alone. Leave me alone. I need to focus. Excuse me, I need to focus. Let me do my job. This is a collaborative company that has no walls, all desks, they all sit together, they all work together all day long, but he wants to be left alone. And it never came out in the interview because of the tell, sell, and the swell. So now, what have companies done, like this one and others, to compensate for the tell, sell, and swell? They've encouraged either directly or indirectly that managers should be slow to hire. And these companies, they've actually gone from 1 or 2 rounds of interviews with prospective job candidates to 3 rounds of interviews, sometimes 4 rounds of interviews, and there are cases of 5. I've been hearing 6, and oh yes, I'm going to fall off the stage, 7. This is how long and drawn out this has gotten. 7 rounds of interviews before making a hiring decision for just 1 job. And we're still not done yet. There's testing, reference checking, and background checks. This process is going off the edge. And now finally, if all goes well, a job offer is made to the most qualified person. As a manager, I'm so happy that seat is about to be filled. Or maybe not, because if that offer is declined and that second choice candidate has already taken another job, which, let's face it, it often happens after a long, drawn-out series of interviews, this whole process starts all over again at the tired beginning, adding more effort, more time, more expense, more interviews, more overwhelm, and more stress for every person, including everybody in this room. It's exhausting. And it's exhausting because first it all starts with the fact that we're not drawing in enough qualified people. And it's taking weeks or months or, as you said, years to just find them. And then, during that whole time, the second issue, this whole process is a flat-out interruption. And if that weren't bad enough, the interview process, it is slow and it's inaccurate. So given all of that, I don't think it should surprise any of us here that the time it takes to fill a job has reached a new all-time high every year, each of the past 5 years. So 5 years ago, it took an average of 28 working days, not calendar days, mind you, but business days, to fill just 1 job. And that grew to 29 days the next year, 30 days the year after that, 31 days just last year, and this year we are on track for 32, which is more than 250 hours that a manager had to deal with this empty seat. I think it's time to get rid of this. In fact, I think everybody in this room has an ethical obligation, maybe even a moral obligation to solve this problem. So let's do that now. Let's go back. Let's get into solution mode. And let's talk about how we make these go away. And so let's make the hard one, the one that scares people the most. Because how do we make more talent? That first issue, that companies aren't drawing in enough qualified people. As we talked about a little bit ago, the talent shortage is real, and it's a problem, but it's actually not our problem. No, the real issue is actually mindset. So the first thing we've got to do is we've got to change counterproductive mindsets about hiring because they're pervasive. And this includes the belief that the talent shortage is the main reason jobs go unfilled. It is the number one reason everywhere in the world. Now, one of the places where this has been most severe, and it probably won't surprise you, is in Silicon Valley, California. So let's take one common role that I know is also common here, and that is a software developer. In Silicon Valley, every software developer who is looking for a job has thousands of them to pick from. That's just the ones there. There's all kinds of people who want to come there, but there's just not enough. They have thousands to pick from. Two of the companies who've been competing for these software developers, they have been battling it out over talent for a long time. Now, the larger of the two is a very, very well-known company. And they would sue me into oblivion if I said their name. So I'm not going to do that. I don't like to be sued. However, I want you to think about them in a certain way. I want you to think about this company as a technologically savvy fruit company. Now, some of you are getting this. Okay, don't say the name out loud. Technologically savvy fruit company. Now, whisper in your neighbor's ear if they're not understanding this just yet, okay? Don't say the name out loud because they might be listening, okay? Now, people love working at this company. And customers like all of us, we just can't get enough of their fruit. Now, they've also got a large, powerful recruiting team. And this powerful recruiting team has a very big budget to draw in prospective people. Now, the other company, they're smaller, not as well known, and because of that, they lack many of the advantages of that bigger behemoth of a company, including that their recruiting team is quite small and has a very limited budget to attract prospective hires. Now, it's reasonable, I think, for all of us to expect that the technologically savvy fruit company would have much more success at recruiting the best people. I mean, come on, they're a household name, and they've got a lot more recruiters and resources. Now I ask you this, do you think it's also reasonable to expect that small fry here wouldn't do as well, that they'd, be one step behind, that they'd always be scrambling to hire second-tier, leftover talent? Do you think that's what happened here? No, why would I tell the story then? No. This smaller company, they have been kicking tail and taking no names. They have been beating the technologically savvy fruit company year after year after year. And one key thing they did, they changed how they think. Now, it wasn't always like this. When I first sit down with David, he's the company's CEO. He is quite upset, and he says, Scott, we are facing a talent crisis of epic proportions. Now, let me tell you what that really means. That means they have 94 open software developer jobs and not enough people to fill those jobs. And to solve this problem, they try all kinds of things. Different job boards, all kinds of networking events, lots of advertising, all kinds of other solutions. Nothing solves this problem. He then says, Scott, we're proof that there's a talent shortage. Every company in Silicon Valley is facing this issue. There are 54,250 open software developer jobs, Scott. But get this, there's only 4,408 people to fill those jobs. And he actually quotes those exact numbers. And because of that, I immediately see the problem. And I bet most of you see it as well. David and his leadership team have fallen into a common trap. They're overly focused on the problem And this overly focusing causes them to believe they can't solve the problem. Now, yes, mathematically speaking, there are many more jobs than people to fill those jobs. But as I'm sure you've already noticed, those numbers are completely irrelevant. They're deceiving. His company, they're not trying to fill all of those jobs. Why even focus on them? No, they're just trying to fill their own. And when you look at it from that perspective, that's it. 94 jobs to fill. And thousands of candidates to pick from. And this amazingly simple yet monumental shift in perspective causes them to believe they can fix their recruiting and hiring. And fix it they do. Today, David and his company fill their open software developer jobs the moment. And I mean the absolute moment the job's open. It is a case study of Instahiring in action. And they didn't stop there. Oh no. 5 other core roles in the company are filled within minutes of a new job being created or an employee giving notice. Now, changing counterproductive thinking isn't just something that helped them. It can help your company as well. And the research behind this shows us why. There's an expert on the impact of emotions. Her name is Dr. Barbara Fredrickson. And Dr. Fredrickson proved in her research that positive emotions, they cause people to have much more creative behavior. In fact, her research has demonstrated there's a cumulative effect to this. She found that people's daily experiences of positive emotions increase their creativity over time. Negative emotions, in turn, dampen or even eliminate their creativity. You see, this is why focusing on the problem, focusing on the skills shortage, or any problem, or any outside influence, is so detrimental, because it all starts with mindset. When the odds seem stacked against us, negative emotions kick in, and we feel powerless. And we believe, and our belief becomes true, that we cannot solve the problem. And countering that kind of negative thinking, that was the secret to David's success, his company's success, but it's also the simple yet powerful secret to success in companies, thousands of them all over the world. Once David and his leadership team focused on the problem they could solve, fixing their process, everyone involved in hiring started believing that all of their challenges around hiring were solvable. In less than a year's time, they turned that talent crisis of epic proportions into a talent surplus. And still to this day, since that time, they have more top-notch talent than they can hire. So I'm going to help you start changing these mindsets. And one of the powerful and simple ways to do this is to have a conversation. Because to get somebody to change their mind, it's easiest if you get them to do it themselves. So our job is to ask the right questions. So I prepared for you a list of questions that I'd like you to write down. So grab something to write on. And this is the conversation I want you to have with HR leaders. This is the conversation I want you to have within your own talent acquisition department. This is the conversation I especially want you to have with hiring managers. And I encourage you to start with your most open-minded early adopters. So the first question I love to ask is this: what assumptions have we been making about recruiting and hiring? What assumptions, because there's probably many, have we as an organization been making about recruiting and hiring? And are those assumptions accurate? So what assumptions have we been making? Are they accurate? The second question is my favorite. How can we make the talent shortage irrelevant? Not can we. No, we're assuming we can. How can we make it irrelevant? I'll give you a tip. One of the places to look where I got many of my ideas is the on-demand economy. We can get what we want, when we want it, and that is now, not minutes from now. I don't know if you have it here yet, but in the United States, we don't just have Prime, we have Prime Now. I can get millions of products delivered to my office in an hour. Because 2 days wasn't short enough. One day, if I paid extra, was definitely not short enough. I must have it now. We can bank on an app. We can download a movie. We're in an on-demand society, and the cues and the clues are there. So if they get stuck on this question, ask them questions about how might the principles and the ideas from the on-demand economy apply to our situation. Question 3, where does our recruiting and hiring process slow down? So where does it slow down? There's points where it gets really bogged down in mud. So where does it slow down, and how will we change that? Not can we, how will we? And lastly, if we're going to do Instahiring, we have to do it with a prioritization system. So this last question is all about priorities. So which jobs immediately cause problems when they're open? So question 4, our last question, which jobs immediately cause problems when they're open? And here's the magic. How can we start lining up people for those ahead of time? Not can we. How can we? The secret to Amazon's success with Prime, the secret to the on-demand economy of any service is they have what you want when you want it. That's now, not days from now. When we identify certain jobs that we know open and cause immediate problems, we can start lining up people before they're needed. And one of the things that helps with that is we solve the second problem. Because once we start changing our hiring mindsets and we start looking at talent differently, that we're only filling this many jobs with this many people, we're not focused on all these jobs. Once we increase the flow, we've got to make better choices. And we've got to stop hiring from being an interruption. Hiring stops being an interruption when we can quickly and easily identify the right people to hire and start lining them up because we've identified them. We do that by hiring with our heads and not our hearts. So we hire with our heads, not our hearts. And I'm often asked, why is that so important? Well, I think dating is a really good example of this, of head and heart getting in the way. So think about dating. Dating and interviewing, they have a lot in common. Both of them are about getting to know somebody better, letting us determine if that person is a good fit, yes, or not, run the other way. Done right, these interactions can lead to a long-time relationship at work or at home. Now, for me at home, my first marriage failed. It ended in divorce. And that happened because I picked somebody with whom I wasn't compatible. I know better. I didn't pick well. So when I decided to date again, I wanted to do things differently. Since selecting the right people to interview or date is where this all starts, I decided to use one of my tools that's good for this. It's called a hire right profile. It's a process for determining who is the best fit for a job. So I'm dating now, so I rename it. I call it my dating right profile. This is my new name for my romantic version of this hiring profile. Now, just like the profile, it's exactly the same. It's a grid system. And each of the 4 quadrants has important criteria about potential dating partners. So I want you to have this tool. So do this if you would. Draw a 4-section quadrant on a piece of paper. I'll just walk you through what the hiring one looks like and how I turned it into a dating profile, because the labels, the process, it's exactly the same. So in the upper left-hand quadrant of this 4-quadrant grid, I call those deal makers. And deal makers are my must-haves when hiring, or now my must-haves as I'm dating. The upper right are my deal breakers, my must-not-haves. Those are the traits I prefer not be or can't be present in someone that I'm going to hire or date. So there's the must-not-haves, the upper left, the must-haves. The lower left are my pluses. Those are the additional positive qualities that would be nice to have. The last section on the lower right are my minuses. Those are the negative traits I prefer not be present. So we got deal makers, deal breakers, pluses, minuses. Now, just like when I hire, I start filling it out by my deal makers. And how I do that is critically important. I'm looking for recurring patterns. It's the same approach I take when hiring. So I think through all the people with whom I'm compatible in my personal and professional life, because that's where the patterns show up, and I make my list. Top of my list for dating is somebody with a good sense of humor. Then I move on and I fill out my deal breakers. And I do the same thing. I'm looking for the negative attributes in my personal and professional relationships, the patterns among those. And then the things that show up as a pattern, I list in my deal breakers, whether it's hiring or dating. And top of my list for dating is somebody with a complicated life. Now, I always take a break at this point when hiring, so I do it with dating too, and I look at what I've come up with so far. I've listed a dozen deal makers and about the same number of deal breakers. I'm starting to get a very clear picture of who is and who is not a fit. So now I can think about the pluses and the minuses. So I think about travel and cooking with a significant other. Those are included on my list of pluses. Somebody who lives out of town or travels a lot for work, those are included on my list of minuses. The good news is coming up with this 4 sections filled out takes 20 minutes. It's about the same amount of time as I get used to this when I'm hiring. And here's the best part. I'm so excited I can date because I know exactly who I'm looking for. Okay, I didn't do that in front of my dates. That would have been weird. But I was so excited. But behind closed door, I'm like, yes. So as I start to date, I can make decisions that are right for me. As deal makers show up, I keep dating that person. If a deal breaker appears, I kindly end our interactions. You know what? Let me tell you about one case where it showed the real power of this 4-quadrant system and why using it for dating and hiring works so well. So I met Michelle on a dating site. And after exchanging emails and phone calls, it was clear that she matched at least a few of the deal makers. So I asked her on a date. And over a cup of coffee, we have this immediate connection and a lot in common. I like her immediately. And then a deal breaker shows up. In fact, the top one on the list, Michelle has a way too complicated life. Mine is not complicated. That's why it's the top one on the list. So there's just no room for somebody with a complicated life. So that stops me from moving forward with Michelle, right? Do you think that's what happened? No, because why would I be telling the story? No. Even though the number one deal breaker is somebody with a complicated life, I'm a good negotiator. I negotiated away. For 6 months, I keep telling myself, same story, that liking her as much as I do, it outweighs one deal breaker, even though it's the top one. It's just one. Oh no, it does not. Her complicated life starts making mine complicated too, and so that relationship had to end. And I was reminded of something that I think all of us know, but it's easy to forget. And it's worth writing down. It's this: a feeling is never a fact. I know we know this, but boy, do we forget this. A feeling is not a fact, because here's what happens. Feelings, gut feelings, we've been told to trust our guts. Oh no. Gut feelings experienced in dating or interviewing, they actually become false evidence that somebody fits when they really do not. So, for me in dating, I took a little bit of a break after this. It was humbling. When I start dating again, I commit to stick with what's on the page. And I have some nice first dates. However, none of them go far because when a deal maker shows up, or a deal maker is missing, or a deal breaker shows up, I have to end my interactions. And then I meet Holly. My first date with Holly was supposed to last an hour. Instead, we talked for 3. And after that, I noticed she matched a number of my deal makers. So a second date leads to a third date, to a fourth, and let's now fast forward. My 3-year courtship becomes my now 7-year marriage. And if you can't tell from my face, this is my mushy moment. I am so in love with Holly. It's been 10 years. I am more in love with Holly today than I've ever been. And why wouldn't I be? I planned for that. I stuck with the plan, and I picked somebody who's a good fit. The business or the romantic version of the higher rate profile let me make logical choices rather than letting my decision-making be ruled by gut feelings. The business version will do the same for all of you and managers, and here's why it's so important. I conducted a comprehensive global study of failed hires. For the study, a failed hire was defined as employment lasting less than 6 months. Get this, 92% of managers with failed hires acknowledged that they had distracting feelings during interviews. So a common feeling was that overwhelm of doing 3 jobs at once. Fearfulness. Another common feeling, they were fearful of making a hiring mistake or losing a candidate to a competitor. But the most frequently mentioned emotion was likability. They liked the person being interviewed, just like I liked Michelle. So we dug into this feeling, and what managers said, it was interesting, it was this. They said that liking the candidate allowed them to ignore a deal breaker, just like I did. Or forgive a missing deal maker. Their gut feeling actually became a fact. Liking the candidate was false evidence that the person fit the job when that person really didn't fit the job. So I want you to grab the grid you filled out. I want you to fill in the last couple of things so you have everything you need to use it in your organization. So under deal makers, write the word more, M-O-R-E. So the word more under deal makers, more. Write the word less under deal breakers, less under deal breakers. I'm sorry, I did that wrong. I did it backwards. I just screwed up my own system. Sorry. All, you'll see where I screwed this up in a second. All under deal makers, none under deal breakers. Sorry about that. So all under deal makers, none under deal breakers. More goes under pluses. Less goes under minuses. So all, none, more, less. Those are the rules. To hire somebody and get it right the first time, every time, they must have all of the deal makers, none of the deal breakers. The more pluses, the less minuses, the more exceptional that hire will be. And remember this, as you help hiring managers fill this out and helps them get out of their own head, you're looking for recurring patterns, the skills, the traits, the personality features that showed up among the people who succeeded in the job. Those are your deal makers. Same thing with the deal breakers, the people who have failed in the role, the recurring patterns among their cultural fit, personality traits, communication, and so forth. The patterns, the things that show up again and again, a pattern is 3 or more. Everything that's left over just shows up here and there. Those are the pluses and the minuses. When you and hiring managers complete this hire rate profile and follow the rules when using it, that is when you're hiring with your head and not your heart or your gut. And during interviews, which we'll talk about next, you use it to make decisions based on factual evidence instead of gut feelings. You also use this to start lining up people ahead of time, and that's a big topic. So we've actually prepared a report, and TalView is going to give you access to this. It's about talent wealth. It's about measuring the wealth of talent in your company and how to fix it. You're going to learn about something called candidate gravity. Using the hire right profile, you're going to use this to increase your candidate gravity to draw in more people, because we've already established you only have your jobs to fill and thousands or tens of thousands of candidates to pick from. So be watching for information on how to download that report. So before we get to those interviews, let's just recap. We've got that first issue, and that is companies aren't drawing in enough people. And we begin to fix that by changing counterproductive mindsets, those conversations you're going to have. Second issue, hiring is that interruption of work getting done. And we begin and we fix that by making faster decisions, because we use the hire right profile to hire with our heads and not our hearts. And now that third issue, interviews being slow and inaccurate, conducting fast and accurate interviews is as simple as this. Seek proof, not promises. Seek proof that they fit, not promises that they'll do good work or fit in. When we do that, we make better hires much more quickly. We can get proof instead of promises when we conduct the most accurate form of interviewing. It's called the experiential interview. An experiential interview is you experiencing the candidate, their skills, their behaviors, their communication. What's great about an experiential interview is many hiring managers report they can make a confident, accurate, nail-it-to-the-wall decision with one interview. And the reason for that is setting this up is quite simple. The setup, the structure is 3 words. Please write these 3 words down. See, hear, experience. See, hear, experience. That is how we design, and that is how we run an effective experiential interview. So using the hire right profile for the job, the 4-grid system, we plan activities that allow us to see the candidate in action doing sample work. Sample work. It's work for no value to the company other than seeing them in action. This also allows us to hear how well the person communicates with others, and fits into the culture. And this then allows us to experience the quality of their sample work. Now, what's this look like in action? Let me just tell you one quick case, and that's a manager role. Manager roles tend to take the longest, but the fastest hire I've ever seen made doing this was done in 20 minutes. Andrea came in, and they planned an activity which was a collaborative brainstorming exercise. She would be the director, the direct reports were in the room. They did a collaborative exercise of her brainstorming with her future team. And that was what they did. The executives were in the room. At minute 20, the CEO stopped the interview and said, "I've seen enough." Now, Andrea is a little fearful, because at 20 minutes you hear the words, "I've seen enough," you think that's bad news. No, because in minute 21, he offered her the job. He said, "Scott, it was so clear and so obvious that she could collaborate that we actually figured it out in 5 minutes, but we spent the next 15 talking with one another to make sure that, yes, we can make a decision this fast." It was so clear and obvious, they hired her in 21 minutes. Now, is it always going to be that fast? No. But I will tell you, it always turns out better. Andrea is there after all these years. It's probably been 4 or 5 years now. And to this date, she's the best leadership hire they've ever made. Traditional interviews are a completely conceptual experience, because candidates are on their best behavior as they tell, sell, and swell their way into the job. And as we talked about before, all too often we have a good interview that turns into a bad hire. That's what makes experiential interviews different. We see and hear proof of fit. We experience where it counts, the candidate doing the work. The decision, whether to hire or not, becomes clear, and it becomes obvious. So I've got one last thing that I want to share, but before I get to that, I would like to invite Sanjo. He's somewhere there. Is that Sanjo? Can you join me up on stage? We want to take just a few minutes and see if you have questions. And, this is the point where sometimes people get a little bit shy. thinking, my question's really stupid. I'm just not getting it. Everybody else in the room does. There are no stupid questions. And I want to take whatever questions you have over the next few minutes. If we don't get to all of the questions, I'm going to be here around during the day, and so feel free to just pull me aside if you have a question that you'd like me to answer.
I feel like when we go for speed in hiring, sometimes we compromise on quality. So how do we get around that? Can you please brief us?
Yes, I appreciate that you asked the question that is probably on many people's minds. Because the question, as I hear it, is, there's a concern that speed and quality can be mutually exclusive. I ask all of you to think about for a minute how speed has actually increased your satisfaction, increased the quality of your experience, increased the value that you've received. You don't have to answer out loud, but think about the downloads, the products, the services, the things you access now that are as good or better, and speed has not undermined that. Speed is only a problem in hiring when we miss something. Speed and quality are not mutually exclusive when we have a process that allows us to see what matters. And so, sir, your question is really important. Speed and quality will not be mutually exclusive for you or for anybody in this room if you've got 4 quadrants of proof to look for. Because patterns are proof. If these skills under deal makers have shown up among the people who've succeeded, why wouldn't the person that shows up in an interview succeed too? And that's the beauty of this. And where do we see that? In an experiential interview. We see, hear, experience proof of fit. So the key behind this, and sir, to your question, and thank you for asking it, is you have to make sure that your process isn't just about speed, it's about thoroughness. And speed and thoroughness will not be mutually exclusive as long as we have a system as buttoned up as I've talked to you about today. And the report that we're going to have you download is certainly going to help with that as well. So thank you for that question.
When you started off, you spoke about there could be like 5 people involved in the interview process. And the concept of even building a quadrant is beautiful. I really liked it.
Good.
But let's suppose there are 5 people involved in the process and there are 5 different quadrants. How do you handle such a situation?
So you say 5 people involved, 5 decision makers or 5?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. I love this question because my first question I want to ask all of you is, do we really need 5 people involved in the process? I challenge the way things are working right now in most organizations. Now, the reason I challenge them is maybe, just maybe, in this scenario or others, we need 5 people. But maybe we don't. This is why when you ask the questions, where does our process slow down? And what can we do about that? What assumptions have we been making? Maybe we're assuming we need 5 people's worth of input. No, actually, maybe it's that one person actually makes the decision and the other 4 just give a nod like, yeah, you're making the right decision. So when we have quadrants like this, it helps make sure that we're not making rash decisions, we're making decisions based on facts and not fiction, and fiction is often what they tell us. And Sanjo, I want to turn to you for a second. I know, and we were talking about this early on, so I knew there was a reason I wanted you up here. You doubled size last year. I'm guessing that you can talk to this for a moment because you would have never been able to onboard that many people if you had committees, because that's what we're kind of talking about here, that had to be involved in the decision. So am I correct that decision making has been made by 1 or 2 or just a limited number of people in your company, and that's one of the reasons you've been able to make so many hires?
I think there are 2 aspects, right? So one, like you rightly said, if the process is being buttoned down to every detail, and you're only having what's absolutely required and not having or not eliminating anything which is absolutely required, then that itself ensures that now you can use technology, you can use automation to fast track a lot of things which can be fast tracked. But that's not at the cost of any step which is required in the process. So for us, when we were looking to grow fairly aggressively, we grew by almost 120% last year. For us, the focus was on, do we really understand what are we looking for? And once we understand that, does it require 5 rounds of it?
Say that again.
Yeah.
Do we
really understand what we are looking for?
This is the key.
Yeah. And does it require 5 people to do an interview, do interviews one after another, or maybe if those things can be analyzed by two people or three person. So essentially defining the process to cater to your requirement rather than having a process just because, okay, if I'm going to spend more time or if I'm going to involve more people, that's going to improve your quality or the quality of your decision making or quality of hire. I think that's because humans, we always have a tendency, if we fear failure or if we fear making a bad decision, our natural tendency is to say that, okay, I put in a lot of effort, I put in 5 people, I spent 3 months, so now if it went wrong, it's not on me. But that's a reaction which we have because we fear failure, and that's not the best way to go about it. So for us, it was really focusing on what is absolutely required and ensuring that we use technology and process to get that done in the shortest possible time.
I'll add this too. I don't think there's anything wrong with having 5 people in your process, sir. In fact, 5 people collaborating on that hire right profile to get that part right, because it's the most important part to get this right from the beginning, selecting the right people, is brilliant. You also can do this too. In the experiential interview, that story I told you about the director of IT, there were 5 decision makers, the C-suite, sitting in the room. They all sat in on the one interview. Versus we tend to send one person to 5 different people, and that's one of the things that takes so long. And then those 5 people have to talk to one another, and they may not have asked the same questions, so they don't have a lot of good comparison. Versus if we all 5 see, hear, and experience the same thing, it's efficient, it's fast, and now we have the same thing to talk about. So thank you for the question, because it's not always that we've been having the wrong people or the wrong amounts of people. It is the wrong structure of the process that slows things down.
And I just want to add on, and that's one of the what Scott mentioned about how you can get, if 5 people are involved in the decision making, how we can get all of them to be on the same page and they have the same context. And that's where what we are doing with Microsoft Teams and the collaborative hiring is really interesting for us, because everybody is part of the same group where all the activities are happening. So you don't have to, there is no context switching. And Dan is going to talk about that, more about that later on.
Good. Would you all give Sanjo a hand, please? Thank you. Thank you, Sanjo. So I know there are more questions. I'm sorry we didn't get to them, but we got some depth on those too. So again, I'm going to be around. Please have me, pull me to the side, and I promise you, in fact, the lady right there, who are you, right there? You get to come talk to me first because you truly were next. So I'm going to be standing up here when we're done, and I'm all yours. I will answer your question. So to close out, I told you about the dancing executive, and she invites me back in for another meeting after a couple of months of working together. And there's no dancing this time. I'm so sorry. It was a little dull because she just sat behind her desk. I couldn't wait. I was waiting to see what would happen. But what she did say is, she says that the dysfunctional hiring dance has ended at the company because mindsets are now changing about hiring. And part of that mindset change is leaders are now actively using those hire right profiles to hire with their heads, not their hearts, during interviews. And during those interviews, they are seeing proof instead of promises, which allows them to hire quicker and faster and better than ever. And they are. The turnover plummeted to almost 0 in a rapid pace of time because they're picking so well. And she was so excited about this, she said, Scott, you had to promise me that you're going to go share this hiring shuffle and the 3 problems causing it and the 3 solutions, because the world needs to hear this. And so that promise has been kept. You now have what you need to start, along with the report you're going to get, to go change this in your company. And I would be remiss, because I really haven't done fully the promise of sharing the hiring shuffle. So I actually need some help with that. So who here would be interested in me sending you a copy of my book, High Velocity Hiring? Raise your hand really high. You'd like a copy of my book. Now keep your hand up if you'd be willing to join me on stage to dance the hiring. Oh, look at the hands go down. Yeah. You're willing to come up and dance the hiring shuffle. So this gentleman there, are you willing? You had your, come on up, sir. And let's see over here. I see a hand. Yes, sir. Come on up. You'll be on either side of me here. Yes, give them a hand. All right, there he is. Beautiful. Nice to meet you. Stand right over there for me. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your bravery. All right, so, all All right, so here's how this is going to work is I'm going to demonstrate and then you will demonstrate back. So the first move is hurry up, I need people, hurry up, I need people, Ready? Oh, I just see, oh, well, look at this. I have oh, they want the look at, okay. Well, I've never had this happen before, but people just like, I love this, okay. So this is my dance team. In fact, come over here. So I'm like the headliner, and this is my dance troupe, all right? So you saw it. Ready? Go. Hurry up, I need people, hurry up. Okay, this is my favorite. He's so cool. There's like, hurry up.
Okay.
Jatin, I'm borrowing that move. Okay, so the second move goes like this. Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy. Ready? Go. Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy. Does that look good? Give me a hand if you think it looks good. All right, let's do both moves back to back. You good with that, guys? Ready? Here we go. Hurry up, I need people, hurry up, I need people, Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy. Give me a hand, yeah, good. Give me a second. Do you think it's fair that they're sitting down? No. What should we do about that?
Have them all stand up.
Yes, stand up as you're able, please. They said so. Stand up as you're able. They don't take direction well. Do you notice that? So would you please join us for one round with your dance team here. We'll do one round back-to-back of the hiring shuffle. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, go. Hurry up, I need people, hurry up, I need people. Wait, I'm too busy. Wait, I'm too busy. Thank you all so much. I enjoy being with you today. Thank you to the dance team. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody. Take care now.
Scott, please remain on the dais.
Okay, I'm remaining. You're not going to make me dance more, are you? I'm done.
I think that was awesome, and Scott deserves a very, very big round of applause from all of us.
Thank you.
We'd like to give you a memento, Scott, for being here with us.
Thank you.
Please give him the biggest round of applause you can for that wonderful, wonderful session. We are never going to forget those dance moves, Scott.
Good. I want to see everybody like posting videos. Go home, teach your families to dance, post it at Scott Wintrip on Twitter. I will retweet it or not. Just tell me which one to do. Thank you.